So Governor Jay Nixon just announced that he's bringing in the National Guard. Really? We'll get some real military in here to replace these cops who think they're the military. I saw that the mayor of Ferguson, Missouri, was just being interviewed on CNN. Front page story in the Washington Post today is that their reporter was arrested yesterday, along with the Huffington Post reporter. And their reporter wrote Wesley Lowery is his name, a rather lengthy front page article in the Washington Post. You can see it over at their website, WashingtonPost.com. That's pretty damn startling. It's almost like every generation has to relearn this all over again. I mean, it's really, we've had a few incidents like this, I suppose, the Occupy things with the pepper gas spraying and the kettling in New York and you know what happened on the West Coast, and maybe back a generation ago, 2 decades ago, or a decade and a half ago, the WTO protests in Seattle. But on a big scale, or at least with big publicity, I really think the last time we saw something like this was the early 70s, late 60s. And the difference is that the police in the 60s and 70s, they were still police. You knew who they were. You saw their badge numbers. They were under the control of the local authorities, and there was actually some control for them. There was some accountability. Now, there wasn't instant social media, and a lot of the corporate media didn't do a good job of covering the protests. I know that they were certainly not anywhere to be seen at all in a couple of protests that I was involved with back in the 60s. And, you know, where the police were out and firing CS gas. By the way, back in the 60s, I can tell you this from personal experience, there were 3 gases that they used. There was CS, CN, and tear gas. And it appeared, and tear gas was relatively benign. It made your eyes water. If you got a big whiff of it, it would make you choke. And it smelled like, you know, awful. I've been gassed with both tear gas and either CS or CN. I never got it straight which one it was. But that nerve, we called it nerve gas back then, the CS or CN. And what they do is they make your entire body suddenly just feel like, you know, every nerve is raw and you're on fire. And apparently the gas that they're using in Ferguson, that they're calling tear gas, according to a front page story in today's Wall Street Journal, is actually CS gas. This is really serious stuff. So we've got this militarized, you know, and CS gas, by the way, is illegal to use in international combat. You can't use it in warfare. It would be a war crime if we use CS gas against ISIS in Iraq. But the police in Ferguson, Missouri can use it against protesters in their own neighborhood. I mean, this has just spun plain old flat out of control. This militarization of police. You go back to Stanley Milgram, I believe his name was, his experiments back in the 60s before they passed, you know, laws about human experimentation that made these experiments illegal, where they brought in average college students. These were psych experiments. They brought in average college students and sat them down behind a glass wall, and on the other side of the wall was a person sitting on a chair wired up to a bunch of electrodes. And the dial in front of them was labeled, you know, low, medium, high, deadly force or something like that. You know, it was clearly labeled. If you hit this highest point, you might kill this person. And what the student sitting in the chair in front of that dial with a button didn't know is that the person in the chair was not getting any shocks at all and was an actor. So the person wearing the white lab coat would say to the student, okay, give him a shock. Now give him a stronger shock. Now give him a stronger shock. Now take it all the way up to the top and give him the and the person is writhing in agony in the chair, falling over, acting like they're about to die. And the person, the kid, you know, the person, the test subject who thinks that the person in the chair is the test subject, keeps giving the shocks. Why? Because somebody wearing an authority figure standing next to them says, do it. We as humans, as a species, are very vulnerable to this. I think it's one of the reasons why we fight wars. You set up the military, you militarize everybody, you teach them how to kill, you get, and then you send them out in the back. What are they going to do? They're going to kill. Or hurt, or harm. And because it's profitable for the men living in these 34-bedroom mansions that surround Washington, D.C., these defense contractors and their lobbyists, because it's profitable for them to sell weapons of war, not law enforcement, war, to law enforcement agencies around the country. We have an ongoing screaming disaster here in the United States. Back with your calls and thoughts on this right after the break.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 866-987-THOM.
It's time to take the weapons of war away from our police officers and have them uncover their badges so we can see who's who.